As luck would have it, an EV never intended for the UK had turned up in Scotland. A Dutch owner on his holidays had invited us up to have a look and do a short review. However, it was going to be a 650-mile round trip and certainly difficult to squeeze in one day. But any excuse for us to drive north of the border and take in this scenery is good enough for us, so off we went. And this is what we'd come to see, the Opel Ampera E, also known as the Chevrolet Bolt over in the States.
Hello and welcome to another episode. We are in Fintry, or just outside Fintry in Scotland.
Yep.
The weather is now a little bit better than it was. It's been horrendous. I'm with Pete, who is Dutch. He's driven all the way from Holland in this, the Ampera E, a distance of
about 300 miles.
300 miles, which
Yep.
is excellent. How many charges?
Well, I needed one, but I did two.
You did too. Okay, so that's not bad. 60 kilowatt hour battery tucked away in there. Anyway, the short and of it is, he's going to lend me the key so I can go for a drive, well, I'm kind of hoping.
There you are,
So
sir.
let's get on with it. Thank you very much.
Other side.
Yep, got it. Oh.
Before I start waffling on about how it drives, I think it's important to look at the effort that's gone into the Ampera E. It's been built from the ground up to take an EV drive system, and it's rather well styled. It does look a little like the Vauxhall Zafira, but blends in very well, and I think most people would have no clue that this is an EV. Standard charging is via a 50 kilowatt CCS charge port, and the onboard 7 kilowatt charger can be used for home and destination charging. And if you're lucky, on occasions this will jump to 8 kilowatts. Not overly sure how that works. Under the bonnet is pretty much of a muchness for an EV, but you'll be spoilt with 201 bhp and 266 pound-feet of torque. That'll smoke most things off the line. Jump into the boot and you get 381 litres of space, and for those of you that don't work in these figures, it's pretty big, but it does have a large lip to lug your shopping over. Lift the boot floor and there's no spare wheel sadly, simply a can of tyre repair and a towing eye. And if you lift out the polystyrene insert, you still can't add a spare, as the wheel well is occupied by an awesome Bose bass box. You'll get to hear that in a little while. A smart key and keyless entry gets you in, and you'll be greeted by what I consider a comfortable hard-wearing interior. There are, however, better available from the Ampera's competitors. The real benefit of an EV is a flat floor, and this is perfect for the rear seat passengers. When you do get in, leg and headroom is excellent, and the centre armrest adds a little more comfort. Nicely positioned USBs will keep your phones topped up on those extra long journeys. Jump into the front, and strangely for this top of the range model everything is manually adjusted, but again leg and headroom is fantastic. The dashboard layout is very good, everything pretty much where you need it, and it's very well equipped all round. Now, the steering wheel has no less than 17 separate controls, but don't let that put you off. It all seems to come together very well, with the 8-inch driver display feeding you information and telling you what's going on. The main touchscreen, although in Dutch, works very well, and I recommend a good pair of headphones to appreciate how good the Bose sound system is, although this won't do it any justice. You can also feed your music into it in the normal ways, and incorporated is this pretty tasty reversing camera, which is much better than is depicted on the video. Interior storage has also been pretty well catered for. Under the driver's armrest seems to drop into oblivion. You have drink holders front and rear, well-sized door car pockets, and even the glove box is pretty good. And finally, my last test, how good are the wipers? And in this case, not bad at all. Now, I've been with the Ampera E for well over an hour, and I was itching to get going. I was surrounded by great roads, twisties and some amazing scenery, so I knew this was going to be a very, very enjoyable drive.
Okay, I feel quite privileged to be sat in this because it's not sold in this country. It's even difficult to get in Holland by all accounts, speaking to the owner. So sitting in it now, driving through some very nice scenery in Scotland, I feel very good. So from the outside, the Ampera, it looks kind of high, it looks kind of narrow, it looks like it's going to catch the wind. However, it has got a very, very low centre of gravity because it's got a 60 kilowatt hour battery stuffed in the floor, albeit I've been told it's a 57 kilowatt hour battery, and that keeps the centre of gravity very low. So the handling actually is really, really very good, especially through these tight weavy bends, which are very, very tight. It doesn't feel like I'd want to push it much harder than I am. However, this is a family car. I mean, what do you want? You know, this isn't to be rallied around. In terms of acceleration, if I just press this button here, the sport button, which I'm obviously going to do, and put my foot down, let's give it a quick burst. Oh my word! Actually got torque steer. Not bad. Not bad. So it's quick. The handling's okay. Let's talk about the Regen. So just down in the centre on the gear selector, when you put it into drive, a little L comes up on the display there, and if you select that, that increases the Regen to absolutely ferocious. There's also a little button on the back of the steering wheel here that if I push that, that's phenomenal Regen. That is one pedal driving. The only car I think that is similar to that, I would say, is the BMW i3 in the way that it feels. The Tesla is very aggressive, however they've smoothed it out over the recent years. It's not as strong as this. Oh, that's brilliant. Let's see if it brings me to a complete stop. Yes, it does. Perfect. I'm in sport mode. I'm going to give it a quick burst, because why wouldn't you? Okay, go. Oh my Jesus. Whoa. That is just outrageous. Fantastic. Love that. It's a family car. Jesus. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, that is honestly, this is fantastic. The handling here is really, really very good. I was following Pete driving this earlier and I was thinking, he's certainly chucking that around a little bit, and now I know why. Because you can. However, there is one downside to this vehicle, and that is it is fitted with a resistance type heater, which for me, I don't understand why any manufacturer of electric vehicles would do that when the amount of energy you have is paramount. I know you get more heat from a resistance type heater, but I think really it should be a heat pump. But speaking to Pete, he has said that it makes not really any difference to his range. For his local usage, it would only be on a long journey where he may need to actually add an extra charge. So it's about 6 and 1/2 a dozen of the other. Looking back to other vehicles that I've tested with a resistance type heater, the e-Golf mainly, that had a huge impact on the range, huge. This has, however, got almost double the battery capacity of the e-Golf, so maybe that's the reason why. But so far, I'm feeling it. I am really feeling it. This is lovely. Nice little touch there. You pull away and the handbrake just releases. That's nice, and it also pops it on for you. That's nice. So looking around the interior, the layout is very good. Everything's sort of within easy reach. The infotainment system is very good. There's a lot on it. It's very in-depth. It reminds me a little bit of the Ampera. The Ampera had so many things that you could do with it, but it's quite intuitive. You're not going through layer after layer after layer, which I like. The dash, although that's not a hard plastic, the door cards, they are hard plastics. And what I have noticed in the rear is there's some quite heavy scratches. And speaking to Pete about that, he just said, you know what, it's just the plastic. The plastic isn't that great and it is susceptible to scratching very easily. And I can see it starting to come through on the door cards also. Not so much on the dash. The dash is slightly better, but just worth bearing that in mind, that you do kick the doors. It's one of those things you can't avoid, and you are likely to get some scratches through just day-to-day use.
I now had a real feel for the Ampera and was set for the next 40 miles of enthusiastic twisty lane driving. I can tell you it performed perfectly. No knocks, bangs or creaks, amazing acceleration and an awesome stereo made for the perfect combination. The Ampera really is class leading, and if it came into the UK EV market now, I still think it would definitely take a position near the top of the tree. Unfortunately, I did have to return the Ampera and I was gutted. I would have been more than happy to take it home and pop it on the drive next to our Zoe.
So I spent an hour and a half driving around in the Ampera E and it's been absolutely fantastic. It's a real family car. In terms of the range, I started with a full battery and I've used 25% of the battery. Now it's all in kilometres, so you're gonna have to forgive me, but I'm guesstimating I've done about 54 miles. So that would give me a range of 216 the way I've been driving. That's been a fair mix of quite ferocious to actually very sedate and driving very slowly. This, I'm a bit gutted it's not sold in our country, I am, because it would be fantastic and they would sell them by the bucket load. Why they didn't bring them to the UK, I don't know. But the stories I'm hearing are they're very difficult to get a hold of for anybody, even in Europe. I think there's a small amount in Norway. Holland, they're difficult to get a hold of. And I think that's a similar story elsewhere. So disappointing for such a good car. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week with another episode.